I'm joined right now by Broxah after Team Liquid has qualified to Worlds to discuss their game over Golden Guardians and their victory, sending them, of course, to compete in the World Championships in just a short time. Of course, this coverage is also brought to you by Alienware. Broxah, I gotta say, this has got to be an amazing feeling for you, especially given how Spring Split started, and even I feel like halfway through summer, you guys were not necessarily convinced of your own performance.
It feels really great being in this position right now. Most of all, it's just a massive relief to me. After spring, I was really, I was really down, really nervous about the future. But the fact that we've had such a good summer split, the fact that we've now qualified for Worlds alongside FlyQuest feels really great. And it's like, I don't know, it's just so crazy how my entire journey here in NA has been. It has been a very bumpy ride, a big roller coaster, but we still actually made it. We've had such a good summer split. We now qualified for Worlds, and it feels great. And I played Lee Sin 3 times today, so that's bonus.
Yeah, it's all you need apparently. I think the last time I interviewed you, maybe it was the time before that, but we talked about how there were a lot of people feeling like you were out of sync with Team Liquid, and this was like a criticism that a lot of analysts had, was like, when you watch Broxah play, it doesn't seem like he's on the same page as the rest of the team. Do you think that that's all been solved now? And if so, what changed to allow you to really get in sync with everybody?
Honestly, the past weeks or the past month, like, to be fair, at the start, all this criticism affected me a bit because I've never been in a position where I had so many people criticize me and sending hate messages my way and all sorts of stuff. Obviously, in the past at Fnatic, when we would drop out of Worlds, the fans wouldn't be too happy. But this has been a bit different, where there's been an entire community kind of calling me the weakest link of Team Liquid, right? And at the start, I got a bit affected by that, mostly just being confused because, sure, I didn't have too much early game impact. I wasn't bringing the aggression that people expected coming out of the team. And while I obviously made some mistakes and I haven't played perfect, I still feel like I've been an important part of this team. I've just kind of taken my role, the role that has been necessary for me in order for the team to find success, adapted my playstyle a little bit. And I feel like, just along the way, I kind of figured out my role more and more, figure out how I need to communicate, how I need to play, what kind of person I need to be in order for this team to succeed. And I'm happy that it's now showing that I can have some good stage performances as well, other than just winning some 50-50 smites. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like in general, people have been a lot of people around the community have tried really hard to find a scapegoat on our team or find reasons as to why Team Liquid shouldn't be a good team. I think in this region, there's a general thing of people really enjoying to find negatives about teams rather than focusing on the opposites, which caught me a bit off guard at first, because I think in EU, this is being done as well, right? You need to focus on the negatives, but there's just this general thing of, if a team does well, you never talk about how they did well or what's good about the team. You talk about what is the weakest link? How is this team going to be abused at Worlds?
You mean in North America? We try to figure out ways to tear down our top teams.
Everyone just tries to find reasons as to why a team is going to fail at Worlds before the team even makes it there. Because everyone just expects the team to go to Worlds and get smacked around.
Yeah.
And this is a bit odd to me, especially because it's like completely different ball games, we can play in one way here in the NA, or here in NA that seems to be working for us. Maybe at Worlds we're going to adapt entirely in our bootcamp. Things can change really quickly, but most of all, what I want to focus on is that we found a style that works for us. I have a certain role within that style. I haven't been as aggressive as people expected me to be, but some analysts have been a little more angry than what I think was justified the entire time.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say.
Well, I'm also kind of curious. You yourself also felt as though not only were you a bit disappointed in your own ability to be proactive, but you also felt like TL was playing pretty slow. I think you said this in a couple places, but at least in one of my interviews. So do you feel like TL has gotten to the place that where it's being that the team can be as proactive in game as you would like them to be?
So I think we are definitely a really slow team. There's no doubt about that. Often we even force the opposing team to play slow alongside us. And something I realized at some point when I was kind of frustrated about us not being proactive, about me not being as proactive as I wanted to, something I realized is that sure, we're not being super aggressive and proactive like some other teams, but we're also it's also rare that we have like really bad performances, like a really bad game where everything just falls apart and we look
Right.
really bad. And I think that's kind of how I view myself as well. I haven't had as high highs as in the past, but most other junglers have had at least one, two, three games where they almost solo lost the game. I haven't really had that bad performances. I'm just somewhere in the middle, just
Yeah.
trying to bring the consistency alongside the rest of the team. And I think that's definitely one thing that has been so good for us compared to a lot of teams, because a lot of teams have really high highs and really low lows, and we're just consistent, and it seems to be working pretty well for us.
Well, I mean, how do you anticipate that going at Worlds? Because obviously you're headed there now. You mentioned a lot that maybe you guys your boot camp like evolves your style or whatever, but I don't know how much you watch these international teams, but you are correct, right? That North American fans expect their teams to do poorly at Worlds, and are surprised when we don't. So I'm kind of curious, like now that you're going, how confident are you in the place that TL is right now, the play style you guys have, where you are consistent, less high highs, less low lows, but consistent? How confident are you that this style, that this iteration of TL, that this play style is something that will be able to bring you guys victory in at least group stage at Worlds, for instance?
I am I'm remaining very confident, very optimistic. Partly because of some of my past Worlds experiences, where even if things were really tough in the boot camp or the boot camp fell apart or where we had a really rough first week, sometimes we would just magically find a way to bounce back. Or most of all, just having players that can like, even if the player is pretty consistent and just playing pretty safe for the most part, like we have players that can really turn it on for just one game, just go full beast mode in one game randomly and really, really carry. And I feel like all players in our team is able to do that, and I think that's often how you beat some of these strong teams as well. And our style isn't necessarily bad either, because if you go up against a, let's say, LPL team, because they've been so dominant, if you make one mistake, the game is lost. You're not bouncing back. They're just going to roll over you and win in 20 minutes. But we don't make that many mistakes compared to a lot of other teams. We don't force them to make a lot of mistakes, but we don't make a lot of mistakes ourselves. And
Right.
how exactly that style is gonna work in all of it, I'm not sure about. But as I said, I think we still have the potential to really, really, really spice it up, or have a player randomly become like a joker or something, just pop off and
Yeah.
smash them into the ground.
Now, because of the format change in North America, this despite the fact that you guys have qualified for Worlds, you still have a lot more to go, many more games to
For
go
sure.
before you're done here. So, I mean, how important do those games feel to you? With them ahead of you as these ones did today, right? Because this was like, the big goal for everybody is make it to Worlds, and so I'm kind of curious, like obviously another goal would be potentially to win LCS summer. So how do you kind of weigh these goals against each other, and do you feel like the more important matches are still to come, or was this like the big moment? You're like, cool, I've got this, and now we can finish out however it goes.
For me, while this game obviously was a relief, and while I'm sitting here being really happy, it was just, I see it, or I hope it's going to be just the start of our journey in playoffs. Because qualifying for Worlds is nice and all, but I've said the entire time that I really wanna have success here in North America as well, and especially after ending ninth in spring. If we can continue playing well, if we can actually go all the way, that would mean so much to me. Because Worlds is pretty far in the future. You don't really know where everything's going to be at that point in time. But now I just look at the next step. Obviously, the game against FlyQuest that would help us reach the final, getting a having a good final, and just let me put it this way: I'm gonna be extremely disappointed if we don't win. I really want to win, and qualifying for Worlds is nice and all, but I want us to make it to Worlds with a first seed. I don't want to get third. That would kind of suck. That's not very fun for anyone. So I just want to go all the way, stand with the trophy, see Steve with a big smile on his face and be proud of us, and then we can go to Worlds and go from there.
Well, I definitely wanted to focus on talking about you qualifying to Worlds, making it, etc. But I want to take a step back and also just ask you a little bit about Golden Guardians, because it does feel as though, especially for an organization that had historically struggled and people didn't take as seriously, there was a lot of hype for them going into this match against you, especially after the victory against TSM. So what was your impression on them? Because some might look at it and say 3-0, that was very stompy. But I don't know if that's your impression or if you have a different opinion.
I think Golden Guardians are a really good team, and I could honestly see them beating anyone in playoffs. I don't think the games today were very one-sided. Like one or two of them were actually pretty close and could have gone either way. So obviously we did win and all, but at the same time, I think Golden Guardians is a really good team that shouldn't be underestimated, and that's one of the things that I wanted to keep mentioning to the team and thinking to myself coming into this game, that we just can't underestimate these guys. We just need to focus on ourselves, play our game, and respect the opponent. Because if we don't respect them, if we get too overconfident, then that's where the trouble begins and where they can actually roll over us. But in this case, if we just keep our feet solidly planted on the ground, we're going to be fine. And yeah, I think they played pretty well. And were they playing next? TSM, I think.
TSM again, yes. They play on Sunday.
I am very much looking forward to that game, because obviously the first Golden Guardians TSM game was a spicy one, and I honestly can't wait to see this best of 5. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, along those lines, I'm kind of curious, because I think a lot of North American fans are really interested in the lower bracket now, right? Because only C9 or only one of C9 or TSM can go, and if Golden Guardians or EG win out, like that, neither of them would be going. So I'm curious who your prediction would be out of those 4 teams to take that final spot. You played all these guys
so
before.
Hard to say, because
yeah.
I don't know what happened to C9. I mean, I was about to say in the series against FlyQuest, but I don't know what happened to C9 in general in the second half of the split. And I can see it going either way with C9. Either they're they're quickly gonna go into time chamber now. They're gonna be back and they're just gonna stomp everyone, or they're gonna get destroyed and they're not gonna go to Worlds. I can see it going either way, because I'm sure they have so much pressure on them right now, and they must be so stressed because they won Spring so convincingly, and now they're in danger of not even going to Worlds. Like, that must actually be a heartbreaking scenario to be in.
Yeah.
So for me, it mostly depends on C9. I think if they figure out how they want to play and how to play as a team, they will probably be my favorite. But if they tilt off of Earth and just, keep doing whatever they've been doing, then the winner of TSM Golden Guardians probably. Yeah. But it's hard to say, because some of these best of 5s have been pretty crazy, pretty intense, and there's some really unexpected upsets all the time, I feel like. The first one with TSM Golden Guardians caught me a bit off guard. Yesterday with a C9 FlyQuest caught me a bit off guard, and I was just thinking to myself that before today, that now we just really have to be careful so we don't get swept as well, and we definitely do not want to fight in the loser bracket with TSM and C9. Like, imagine that timeline where FlyQuest and Golden Guardians also qualify for Worlds, and like the longest standing organizations are fighting through a loser bracket. That sounded really scary. So yeah, I'm just happy that we got this one out of the way, and then I'm looking forward to watch those matches.
Well, I mean, by the time people watch this interview, they could have already been eliminated because they're playing tomorrow. But That's kind of the funny thing about C9 for me, and what's interesting as you're kind of still picking them is like, I still think that they are the most likely to make it out, and yet I have to challenge myself on that because it's like, how many times do they have to be like for us to all look at them and be like, wow, I can't believe they lost that before we finally stop giving them the credit we gave them from, for their victories in spring and the first half of summer. It's just actually kind of wild because if you look at how much they've lost over the past, like, I don't know, 2 months now, it feels like it's kind of crazy. So it's so funny to see that, like, you have the same impulse as me, which is like you still want to believe that C9 is the one that's going to do it despite their recent results.
Yeah, so I think in general the split there has been a lot of bias towards C9, which to an extent definitely has been justified because of what happened in spring and because of the start of summer. But at one point you have to start raising questions about them, and I I would love to see them bounce back because I would really like to see that for them, and especially for Niski, who's a friend of mine. Um, like I don't know, it's just it's just so interesting because I feel like anything can happen. I think they are most likely gonna beat EG. I would be surprised seeing EG smash them. But at this point, you never really know what's gonna happen,
Were you
right?
surprised that FlyQuest beat them? Is the way in the way that they did?
I thought C9 were going to beat FlyQuest. Let me just say
Yeah.
that I thought C9 was going to win because I thought that now they would have enough time before playoffs to figure out everything and actually come back strong. That didn't happen, and if I was on C9, I would be not necessarily in panic mode, but close to that,
Yeah.
and that's why I think these upcoming games are going to be so interesting because how are they going to react to this pressure? Like it's impossible to say.
Yeah.
If they have a big red panic button, they must have clicked it already, or at the very least be close to it.
Yeah. Well, either way, thank you so much, Broxah, for the interview. Anything you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Well, thanks to all the fans who have continued sticking with us and supported us. This has been a pretty weird split as a Team Liquid fan. I bet we've played pretty solid, won most of our games. People still haven't rated us as highly. Now we've qualified to Worlds alongside FlyQuest, and I'm really happy to finally secure that for all of you fans. And yeah, hopefully we can continue to make you proud, do good in playoffs, do good at Worlds, and yeah, we'll see one step at a time. Thanks for the support.
Well, thank you so much again for the interview. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. Would you like a free gaming station, gaming battle station with which you can get? Anyway, Intel Gamer Days. It's an Alienware giveaway that's happening right now as part of that promotion. You can go check the link in the video description below, alienware.com/Travis. It's my normal link, and there's going to be a banner there. You can sign up. They're also giving away, as part of that, a $300 Steam gift card. Thank you so much to Alienware for doing cool stuff like this. And maybe you could win it. I know maybe you haven't won anything before. Maybe you have. But you could be like, wow, I actually won this. I did not anticipate it. That could be you. Just imagine you right now getting that, and then you tweet at me and you say, I did this. And I say, congratulations, that's fantastic. Have you followed my book YouTube channel, which is right here? And you say, what are you pointing at? This is just a Twitter conversation. And I say, I know, but this is also the outro for this video. And you say, what's going on?